if you have a 16 or higher dexterity, and your party heavily participates in stealth, maybe you want this.
All right, remind me, what does this do? Because all I remember is it's a big pile of crap.
Yeah, so it normally is. You're right.
Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Cameron, aka Prince Phantom, and today we're breaking down his picks for the best feats for bards.
Yeah, bards are really good.
Yes, they
And
are. Which was like I looked at this list because I've got the written version, which will be linked below and in the description. But yeah, this looks like the lamest list of feats ever to be committed to list format. But I can't really fault you for that because bards have everything going on already.
yeah, you'll notice really the only really area that bards lack in is single target damage, which a couple of subclasses fix if you want that, and not everybody really wants that anyway. And defense, which
Yeah.
again, some subclasses fix. So they're really not lacking in many areas at all.
Well, it
So yeah.
depends on the subclass you pick, but we're, today, for the sake of this video, we're going generic bard.
Yep. So not assuming any subclasses or anything. Uh really we are gonna be looking at feats that increase our defense, increase our support capabilities, and maybe something give us a few extra spells to cast because bards do have a fairly limited number of spells known. Not as
I
much as
just
the
want to cast
sorcerer.
vicious mockery over and over again.
We already made that build.
I know.
Anyway, so yeah, speaking of defense, I highly recommend that for all of the subclasses that don't get medium armor proficiency, so basically everybody except for the Valor and the Swords Bard, to take moderately armored. Now,
Wow.
I know you and Sam hate these feats. I get it. Okay, let me explain. A bard gets light armor proficiency at base, right? And no shield or anything. So that means that let's assume you have a starting dexterity of 14, which is pretty reasonable for most bards, right? Because you got to
Yeah.
max out your charisma and you want a good constitution. So dexterity is kind of like a third thing, right? Normally, the most you can get that up to is about 14. So that means that at level 1, assuming no magic items or anything, with studded leather, which you normally couldn't get at level 1, but I'm being generous, studded leather would get you an AC of 14.
Yeah, that's
Now,
not great.
with just taking moderately armored and getting the best medium armor, which you can get, which I assume the best light armor, so I'm assuming the best medium armor, you would bump your AC up to as high as 19. Well, assuming you can also hold a shield.
Yeah.
That is a 5-point AC bump for the cost of a feat.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I believe you would always take a feat that said, take this feat to get +5 AC.
Well,
right?
we rave about the shield spell, so yeah.
And this is what that is, permanently. And stacks with shield.
Yeah.
The bards don't get shield normally. I
Well,
recommend taking a
hopefully.
level of sorcerer to do so.
Well, are there any feats we could take instead?
There
Not
are,
on
but
this
taking a
list.
feat.
Oh wait, Matt.
Taking a.
Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
here's the thing. There aren't great ways to get shield through feats.
Yeah.
Your only best way to do it is through Magic Initiate. The problem with Magic Initiate is you only get to cast the spell once. You can't cast it with your spell slots. Now, shield once is still pretty good, right? But is it worth a whole feat?
Well, I mean, with Magic Initiate, you're getting more than shield, but
yes, you are. You are. So that being said, you can do that. If you really want shield on your sheet, I'd highly recommend taking either a level of Hexblade Warlock or Sorcerer. And in fact, if you take Hexblade Warlock, you also get the benefits of medium armor and a shield. Yeah. So, I mean, secretly, a single level of Hexblade Warlock is probably the best feat you can take as a bard. Anyway, if you don't want to delay your spell regression, I get that. So we'll move on. But yeah, moderately armored. Listen, you will go from very, very squishy in the early game to as tanky as the paladin. So
That you've made a case.
Past that, if you are dedicated that you hate all armor feats and you never want to see them printed ever again, fair enough. Inspiring leader. Now, this is kind of the like generic bard pick for a feat, right?
Yeah. This is temporary hit points for several people. Is that
Pretty
right?
much your whole party.
Okay.
Literally your entire party, because it's technically only up to 6 people, but you have unlimited number of uses of it.
Ah, right.
So it's infinite people as long as you've got time.
Yeah.
So inspiring leader, it keys off of charisma, which makes it good for charisma based classes like bard, and it gives so if you got it right at level 1, let's assume that you took a feat level 1 through your race or something, that would be 5 temporary HP for the entire party.
It's pretty good.
So a party of 4, that's adding 20 HP. And you can do it, I believe, every short rest. Hang on, let me double check. I don't want to say something wrong. Inspiring leader. You can use it. Let's see. A creature can't gain temporary hit points from this feat again until it has finished a short or long rest.
Okay.
So every short rest, you get to use this again, re-up that shield of temporary hit points, and that's
Now,
level 1.
This is probably not going to come up, but you can use this more than that. You don't have to wait for a short rest to use it. Yeah, all right. That's what you were talking about before. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine this. Imagine you have a druid in your party who has conjure animals, which is an hour-long duration spell, by the way. You can spend 10 minutes of that hour duration inspiring all of the animals.
That's pretty nuts, yeah.
They all get the temporary hit points. Now they're more survivable. You have, your necromancer wizard has an army of undead. Give all of them temporary hit points. Now, I will say this feature is a little bit party dependent. If you have a Twilight cleric or a artillerist artificer in your party, this isn't as useful anymore because temporary hit points don't stack, and most of those classes have ways to give the entire party even better temporary hit points than this.
Or anyone else who's an inspiring leader.
Exactly. Yeah, diminishing returns on this feat. You don't want 2 people in your party with it. So, but that being said, so you see, for example, moderately armored, huge bump in survivability for yourself, inspiring leader, smaller bump in survivability, but for your entire party.
Yeah.
So,
and their friends.
And anybody else who just happens to be nearby.
And does this count for familiars too?
Yep. Yeah, so your 1 HP familiar now has like 10. So we can actually take a hit now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I recommend both of those highly. Inspiring leader becomes much easier to take quickly if you are playing a subclass that gives you armor, or if you take a level dip to get armor. But if you're dead set on going straight class bard in one of the subclasses that don't get armor, then probably take mildly armored first. Doesn't really matter though. Do what you want. Yeah. Past that, we hit some really bog standard spellcaster feats. Warcaster is what most bards probably need, because a lot of good bard spells are concentration. Not all of them. They don't have the druid problem where like literally all of their good spells are concentration, but most of them, like 80%. So you're going to be concentrating on spells for the vast majority of the time. Also, neat little fun thing that you can do with Warcaster, especially if you're like a melee bard. You can mix in Booming Blade as a reaction attack instead of doing your regular attack, so you get extra damage on a reaction attack. And you can even incorporate like something we did with the Insult Master build that we did for the channel, where you can Vicious Mockery somebody as a reaction. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, love that.
Won't happen very often unless you're building towards it like we did in that build, but might come up.
All right, I'll try and remember to link to that in the video description.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's your favorite build, right?
Sure.
Sure, yeah, sure it is. Anyway, Resilient is another box standard feat. Take it for
you want to stack Resilient on top of Warcaster?
Sometimes, yes, especially into the high level play.
Yeah, all right.
So take it this way: if you took Warcaster at level 4, you may not have to take Resilient level 8, but by level 12, I'd start considering it. Reason being, things just start hitting really hard at those levels, and you
Yeah,
start making a lot of saves. Um, Take, for example, say you have a 14 Constitution, right, which is pretty average, as a +2 to the save. With Warcaster, you get advantage on that, so that's nice. If you have to make a DC 19 concentration check, advantage isn't really helping you that much. It's helping, but you have to roll a 17 or better. Uh,
that's true. Yeah.
that gets tough. And at that point, that's when you need to actually start bumping the actual save. It's why the Indomitable feature for fighters is not nearly as good in play as it reads. They have the same problem. So just getting advantage is good and very helpful and is best when stacked with other things.
Well, I mean, like I said in the beginning of the video, I mean, bards have so much to do. They're really great all around. I don't mind taking feats that feel lame,
Yeah, you're
and
getting
they will
plenty from
be
your base
effective.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want more to do, Fey Touched is a good choice, and obviously Shadow Touched as well. But I personally think Fey Touched is a little bit better. You Bards surprisingly don't get Misty Step, which means they lack short range teleportation options, especially at early levels. So Misty Step is a really good option to have in your back pocket as an escape button or just maneuverability or whatever it is you need. Um, and Bards don't actually get any teleportation options until Dimension Door, which, by the way, it's a crime that they don't get Thunderstep.
Yeah.
Bards should get Thunderstep. What the heck is up with that? Uh, so,
The power of rock.
yeah, seriously, it seems like it's right up Bard's alley. Anyway, now the best spell that you can grab with Fey Touch is normally Silvery Barbs. Bards already get that, so that's not really a need here. But you could get something like Bless or Gift of Alacrity.
All right,
Um,
bless. I get. What? Why do we care so much about Gift of Alacrity?
So the initiative bonus is really helpful for a full spellcaster because
Okay.
say you're a bard, for example, and you have hypnotic pattern. The
Yeah.
best time to
Okay.
use that spell is the first turn before anybody's done anything. And so having that initiative bump helps you do that more consistently. So your favorite spell, Fear, it's a lot easier to cast when the two sides of battle haven't met yet, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's why initiative bonuses, despite what Sam will have you believe, are actually really, really good, especially on full casters. I will
He
die
hasn't
on this
swayed
hill.
me on that. I'm with you.
I will die on this hill. Um, Past that, we get into some suspect picks, the ones that I kind of want to talk about because when else will I get to? Now,
Yeah.
there are always the standard good stuff feats like lucky and tough you can take, and there's nothing wrong with those. That's boring. Let's talk about other things. How about medium armor master?
All right. Now this one you're gonna have to sell me on.
So now this one is very character dependent. You would need to have at least a dexterity of 16 to even consider this, because that's when you get the bonus to your armor class. Um, so some bards will have no problem doing that, especially like a dexterity based bard that's making attacks, like a valor or a swords bard. You
Mhm.
might have no problem swinging it. You might have an 18 dexterity. I don't know. Um, so this is very build dependent. But if you have a 16 or higher dexterity, and your party heavily participates in stealth, maybe you want this.
All right. Remind me, what does this do? Because all I
So
remember is it's a big pile of crap.
yeah, so it normally is. You're right. Um, you need to understand how medium armor normally works. Normally with medium armor, you get a flat number, and then you can add your dexterity bonus to that
Yeah.
number, but only up to +2.
Right.
Medium armor extends that range to +3. So you have to have a dexterity of at least 16 to even notice that at all.
Yes.
But it is functionally +1 AC if you have dexterity of 16 and are using medium
All right.
armor.
So far, I'm not sold.
Additionally, it
Okay.
removes the disadvantage to stealth checks while wearing armor. So that's useful with half plate specifically because that poses a disadvantage. And at some parties, that might be really useful. Now, if you have somebody who's casting Pass Without Trace, that disadvantage might not even be mattering that much. You might still be
No.
getting a 20 on the roll. So this is very party dependent. It's very character dependent. You need to be a party that's focusing on stealth, but also doesn't have Pass Without Trace. I don't really know what party that is, but I'll probably
Is
never get a
Pass
chance.
Without Trace, is that available for Bards?
No, it's not normal.
Okay.
No. So I I'll never get a chance to talk about this feat ever again.
No.
So it's a very niche circumstance where maybe, just maybe, at high levels, when you've taken all the feats that you already want to take, and you say, hey, a +1 AC isn't too bad, go ahead. I won't, you won't, it won't hurt you. We'll say that.
It hurts me to think about it.
Fair enough. Um, Past that, Magic Initiate actually looks pretty good on Bards because they don't get they can get something like Find Familiar through this. Bards already get ritual casting, though with their limited spell selection, excuse me, their limited amount of spells known, it can sometimes feel hard to take ritual spells. So you may also want to take Ritual Caster, but Ritual Caster requiring a 13 Wisdom might be hard to swing for your character.
Mm.
So if that's difficult to do, Magic Initiate can also give you a familiar and a couple of cantrips if you'd like that as well. Um, it's not something I prioritize highly. Bards already have plenty of utility in their skills and Bardic Inspiration at early levels. Familiar would be nice, but you don't need it if you don't have to have it. So it's up to you if you prioritize that. And of course, a single level dip into something like Wizard can also get you a familiar. So easy to access. This is one of the many ways too.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Magic Initiate before Medium Armor Master.
You probably are most of the time, yes.
Yeah.
And after that, if you want to just take a cool like bonus feat towards the end of your character's life, Actor's kind of fun. Especially because you bards have easy access to disguise self, and you can very easily mimic a NPC convincingly with this combination of
Yeah,
feat and spell.
depending on the table you're at and what kind of game is being run, I could see this being taken even earlier.
Potentially, yeah. If you're like a heavy roleplay table that only has combat encounters like once every 2 sessions, go for it. Have fun.
Hmm.
This will probably see more use than something even like.
Or even if, I mean, even if you have, combats every session, but there's still some role play element to the game, and you just think this would be fun, then
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
you
it's.
lean into it.
I will say there are times when this can help you completely circumvent a combat encounter,
Yeah.
and in that case, it's better than any other feat, right?
I was going to say less fun, but
Maybe,
that's the way to go as well.
maybe, yeah. So yeah, if that's something that interests you, if that play pattern of being that charlatan type of character is something that interests you, which I know it is for a lot of people that roll up a bard,
Or
then
just, charismatic spy kind of guy.
yeah, plays really well with the Whispers Bard, by the way. I know we're
Hmm.
not doing subclass specific things, but the Whisper Bard has a feature that kind of almost gives them disguise self for free, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool for them. But we'll talk about it more when we get into that specific subclass.
All right. The the worst part of this list I'm looking at, honorable mentions. Look what you have here.
We don't have to talk about those. Those are for some of the subclasses. But
I'm just saying, I'm looking at
if
this and it shocks me.
if you are wielding a weapon, which some
Yes.
bards do, two of them specifically, then I mean you want to take the weapon feats.
Yeah, yeah.
I won't go into detail here, but I mean if you are wielding a weapon in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, you take the weapon feats. I'm sorry, that's just how it works. And you play to those. The sword and shield style of play doesn't work. You're dealing like 10 damage around.
Oh no, I totally understand, but I mean, I'm looking at this list of these lame feats: moderately armored, medium armor master, and then oh yeah, honorable mention, like 4 of the most powerful feats in the game.
I put them in auto mention because you may not need them. It's only if you're using weapons. So
All
anyway,
right. Yeah. Anyway, play Bard. You have a lot of fun. These are,
This
you know,
list doesn't
despite
sound
I
fun.
keep saying they're lame,
Don't
but no.
don't
Cameron's
let
right.
this list don't let this list detract from how cool
Oh
bards are.
no, not at all. I mean,
Me and Bob
the
talked about this
reason
right
is
before we
because
started
Bards
recording.
have so much going on.
Yeah, me and Bob started talking about this just before we started recording. This game actually kind of lacks cool feats.
Mm.
And granted, you go back to previous editions, there were way too many, and that was a different problem. But this game just doesn't have that many interesting things that really enhance your character in the feat selection. You kind of got to dig deep and wade through a lot of crap, especially the recently printed stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
You know what? I think they were good picks. What do you in the audience think? Let us know down in the comments. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, comment below, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.